Welcome to F9 Collective's Toggle Sessions. And today's guests are Noah and Austin Bounds. You guys know, everybody knows them from Ravi. I hope I'm saying that right.
You are. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, awesome. So just a quick run through. It's just like Monday meetings. It's a very it's a very casual meeting. There's nothing formal about it. But what we would love to talk to you is about what's happening in the industry and what you expect. Like, firstly, of course, we would love to know about you guys. We only know you guys through through Ravi and Easy Ease, and quick thought. So the name F9 comes from the Easy Ease button that we keep hitting. So I guess that's something we have in common. But welcome to F9's Toggle, and we're happy to have you here. So please come forward.
Well, sweet. Thank you so much for having us. Yeah. I'll give my little spiel about me. I'm Austin. I'm half of the Ravi co-founders. A lot of what I do day to day now is like our sales work and a lot of just like thinking about how we're going to get new projects and ways to improve the quality of projects that we're getting. So that's a lot of what I do. I also still spend a good amount of time animating and designing on all of our projects as well. Ravi is currently a team of 5. That's soon to be 7. We're bringing on 2 new people as well. So that is what's going on there. I started in design when I was probably 12-ish or something, making YouTube banners during like middle school. And eventually over time, I started making like stream alerts for people who would subscribe or donate to different streamers that I worked with. And so I would sit in Photoshop because I was too terrified of After Effects. I would like put some type on screen and then I would hide all of it and like slowly fill it up frame by frame and saved all those as PNGs. And then I'd put it all in Windows Movie Maker. And then suddenly I was doing motion design. I learned a little bit of After Effects in high school. I started just watching some tutorials and just fucking around in the program. And over time, I started posting some of my work on socials, and I had like small software companies hit me up wanting to have me make their different launch videos and things like that. And then met Noah in college, and I'll let him tell that part.
Good work, Austin.
Well, thank you.
I'm the other half of the co-founders of Ravi, and I actually got started in creative in a bunch of ways all at once. I was a very artistic kid, but I actually did a lot of like woodworking and metalworking and like CNC big machining when I was in like high school sort of aged. And then I found Photoshop, and I thought that Photoshop was the coolest thing. And I was like, okay, I could use this and I could work in whatever field I wanted to. I could work with whoever I wanted to if I did graphic design. And so I pursued that, and I went to college for it, and that is where our paths crossed. I met Austin, and he was already doing motion design at that point and was a pretty good designer as well. And I was like, wow, I got to be friends with this guy. He gets it. He knows what's going on. And so I quickly befriended him, and he's like, all right, check it out. Graphic design, but it moves. And I was like, that's crazy. You got to tell me more. So we would sit in like his dorm room, and he would show me all of his pre-comps. He used so many pre-comps back then. It was crazy. And he showed me like the basics of After Effects and like how to ease stuff. And it was just like very interesting and exciting. And then later during COVID, we were both stuck at home, and we would like play video games with each other and like talk about exciting pieces of motion design and like design that we see online and like hang out online, because we were just like bored all the time. We were stuck at home. It was the summer. And he was like, hey, I'm going to start with this other guy. I'm going to start like a little collective that we could like make some bigger projects maybe and get some larger projects and do some bigger kind of motion design, graphic design things. Do you want to be a part of that? At this point, I was not really a motion designer. I was much more of a graphic designer. I had learned a little bit After Effects, and he was like, do you want to do it? Why not? I said, of course, yes, that sounds fun. Let's go. And right away, we were off to the races, and we quickly realized that we actually wanted this to be a company and not just like a little group of freelancers, because it just like made sense legally. It just made sense. And then eventually we got our first project, and I'm going to throw it back to Austin for that.
So funny enough, the first project we got as Revie was actually from one of the YouTubers I worked with forever ago, whenever I was a teenager. And they were wanting to create like a FaceTime app, but for fitness. So it would be like one-on-one fitness challenges that you'd like be on your camera and the other person would be on their camera, and you'd have to like do certain exercises, right? It was kind of like Just Dance, but for exercises on your phone because COVID. So people weren't like going into the gym or doing those sorts of things. And we made an entire branding system for them. Noah and I had never done character design before. I've always been horrible with anything related to like the human body or anything living, because like we have such like certain expectations of what that's supposed to look like. But we made it work. We made a character, and then we were able to make it do all of the different like 50 workouts they needed it to do in like looping animations. We created their brand guidelines, and it was interesting. It was a pretty cheap project, all things considered. We didn't get paid much for it at all, but it got us started and gave us some work to like put into a reel. And then from that point on, once we released our first reel at the very, very end of 2020, which is why I really say we like started in 2021, we started getting some bigger projects with like Toshiba and like these new AI companies that were coming out at that time. And things just really kind of changed from there. But Noah and I were still in school that whole time. I was also working at a live action marketing agency as their only design person. It was just like a lot to handle. So over time, Noah and I dropped out of school because our professors were like getting upset with us for taking client calls during class sometimes and stuff like that. And, you know, we were like, this is what we're getting the degree for. So why are we here if we're already doing the thing anyway, you know? And they don't like that we're already doing it. Yeah. So we left that. And then I ended up leaving my position at that other marketing agency as well, because I was only spending like Tuesdays and Thursdays for Revie stuff, which was kind of crazy that we even managed to get as much done as we did with only like 2 days a week for probably a year to start with. But it set the groundwork for some good stuff. But how y'all probably know us is the Loop series, the different things that we put out on social media. That started because at the end of 2021, after I dropped out of school and left that job, all the projects we were getting were just super boring. They were really corporate, exciting from like an artist's perspective on the motion. And so I just wanted to make some fast, snappy stuff. And so I put up a post that I'd just made that day, and it got like 4,000 views overnight or something. And at that time I had like 700 followers. So 4,000 views was just insane. Like I didn't understand how that many people saw it. And so I was like, well, I got to try that again. So then the next week I made another one, and it got 10,000 views overnight. And I made another one, and that one got 20,000, and another one. And then it just started going crazy. We were getting like 150, 200,000 views every single post that we were making. And there were a lot of things that happened around that same time. Like I started live streaming the creation of these because people kept asking me to make tutorials. But like after spending 6 hours making the thing, I didn't want to spend another 3 hours like recording myself explaining how to make the thing. So I figured it made more sense just to like stream the process while I was making it anyway. And I think that got people a lot of insights that like parts of my process that I wouldn't have even thought to include in the tutorials, because they just feel like kind of second nature to me at that point. And so that started, we started a Discord from there, and then just kind of put ourselves in the community a bit more. And it's just been kind of crazy ever since. Last year, we had another batch of loops that we were working on, and those went really, really nuts. I think our total viewership last year was like 25 million views organically on Instagram, which was just absurd. We didn't even know that was possible with motion design. So, yeah. That's what happened there. That's how I was feeling also while that was happening. But yeah, that's generally where we're at now. We work in a lot of different industries. We do lots of launch videos still. We still do branding for companies. We do lots of event work. We work with Chick-fil-A, the chicken sandwich fast food chain here in the US. We work with them on their internal conference every year for their like big screens where it does like speaker walk-ups. So say Walt Disney, he's dead, so he's not going to go there, obviously. But like, if he was going to give a speak, we would have like a 60-second thing about who Walt Disney is, and that would play before he walks out to get the crowd excited. We've also done stage visuals at Coachella. What else? Interactive animations for different websites and things. Yeah, I feel like that's generally it. But we work across a lot of different industries.
Yep.
So I remember watching you guys on YouTube when you started live streaming, and I was like, okay, these guys are actually fun. Not just not just the videos, but it was kind of very fun to watch you guys work as well. So, and I'm particularly I'm very happy to hear, like, Noah, you had mentioned that you got into woodwork and a bit of before you got into design. And I've realized that a lot of designers and artists have actually done something like that, because I remember it was 3 weeks back that we had a call on Monday meeting, and they were talking about woodwork specifically, because a lot of designers were into it, and working with your hands and making. So it's kind of refreshing to hear, because on one side you're like, I'm being, hearing about AI all the time, and then you hear from one side, like, it's kind of refreshing to hear that, there is a lot of work that people actually enjoy doing, manual labor. And, I think that's one of the things that makes designers stand apart. I actually wanted to ask, like, you mentioned that you had gotten very, like, it was during the COVID times that you guys had really shot up. So, like, I think throughout the years, COVID has been very helpful. I'm not going to say helpful. Okay, that's a
But I know what you mean, though. Yeah.
It's even for me, I think I did one of my, like, it was probably work was pretty breezy. Working was pretty easy, like reaching out and working on projects was pretty easy. So, like, but right now, now the lockdowns have all come down, and everything seemed to have plateaued. And after that, the economy just went in a very strange place. Mm-hmm. And like, I want to get your insights and what do you think about 2025, considering that you guys have been from 2019, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like, what are your insights, especially with I don't want to call AI a threat, but that is how we have all been viewing it. And and not just that, the economy situation and everything. So, like, what do you guys think of that?
Sure. No, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I got some insight here. So, at the same time as the economy was going up and down, so too was our understanding of how to sell projects, and we were still learning how to, like, actually run a studio efficiently and effectively. So, like, the points at which the downs of the economy matched up with our own lack of experience, like, were severe dips. Like, we almost ran out of money one year. We did actually run out of money.
Yeah, we had like $1,000 left in the bank account that year, where, like, we had dropped out of school and I left that job. So, yeah.
So that was really scary. And so there were multiple times where we had to be like, okay, now we need to, like, look at this differently, and we need to sell differently. So a big part of our journey has really just been being very adaptable and trying to understand what allows us to continue doing the work, no matter what's in our way. Like, what can we do and what can we learn that allows us to continue moving forward as a business. I think that we can view AI in a similar way, but I'll get to that in a sec, because I also want to mention the just the overall economy and how like the democratization of creative with AI and the strangeness of the post-COVID economic situation has made an interesting area for small businesses to actually thrive. So it was really good right at the end of COVID. Like, we had a boom, and then it kind of shot down. And that was like last year. We had a relatively, like, an okay year, but it was worse than projected. Like, it was worse than projected for a lot of agencies. A lot of agencies ended up shutting down, as you know, like the Mill went out of business. a lot of stuff.
Last year was our worst year yet, by far, by a good amount. Yep.
Yeah, I totally agree with 2024 has not been that kind.
Yeah.
Like that was a tough year for creatives, and it was as AI was first coming out, so there was a lot of fear there. Now that it's been a little bit more like naturalized and we can kind of see how fast it's progressing and like get an idea of what it actually can do, it's calmed down that like fear a little bit. But also it has made it so that a lot of businesses, and Austin and I were just talking about this like yesterday, a lot of businesses don't want to get into these like massive contracts. They don't want to pay a whole bunch of money. Everyone's like a little timid with their budgets. So they're actually opting to go with smaller creative agencies as opposed to the big ones a little bit more than before. And the big ones have become a little bloated from a lot of years of like really good pay. And so that sets a lot of the big companies up to fail a little bit more, but the smaller companies are in an interesting place. And luckily we're in that interesting place too, where we can provide like fast and effective service and be adaptable enough to use new tools and to actually be able to compete with any sort of new tools that are out there. And so this year has actually so far been our best year yet, strangely.
Yep.
So we've been very, very nonstop busy and making some of the best relationships we've ever made with clients. And I think it's in taking that mentality of like, well, this AI thing is like here, but it's very much a tool and it doesn't need to be used in a way that we don't want to use it. Because again, like we're the ones making the stuff. If we don't want to use it, we don't need to use it. And there are a lot of people that will still pay top dollar for humans making things. That is, people are not going to stop caring about that. But the people that will naturally try and get the lowest price possible will continue to get the lowest price possible. Usually, I would say you don't really want to fight for just being the lowest price because people are emotional decision makers at the base level. And so if you can make them feel like what you're doing is worth it, then that is why they'll buy. So I think if we zoom out a little bit and understand our clients a little better, then the AI thing doesn't seem as so scary and can actually be a bit of a positive in some of the workflows that we now have access to.
Yep. That's true. I have a couple things to add on that. Ultimately, the way I see AI is like it will take a lot of like really small end gigs that we would typically say no to anyway. You know what I mean? Like there are already things we probably wouldn't have done, but big bosses at different places, like they're not going to be sitting in there making the prompts themselves or whatever, you know, like for a lot of decision makers at companies, like they don't want to deal with the creative period, whether it's somebody making it or AI making it or whatever, like they don't really care. They just want it done. So Noah is right in that it's much more important to just be making good relationships and being somebody's problem solver rather than just being like a good designer. Like that's not necessarily as valuable to these businesses as like we just sat in a call yesterday for 30 minutes with one of our clients that we work with almost every week now, just brainstorming like new campaign directions for them and different like taglines and copy they could use. Like that's not something we typically do, but we're trying to do it more because like now that company sees us as just like people who can solve their creative problems and not just people who they could go to for motion design. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's definitely part of it. And I guess part of the reason why we're not as worried about AI. But more importantly, like to go back to what Noah was saying about some of the larger agencies having more trouble, we did some market research a little while ago about just like what people are charging for like a 30-second spot. And I mean, like the big agencies are charging like $500,000 for like a 30-second spot. It's crazy. And so when you can realize that there's a really good potential here for like smaller studios and also freelancers to be working directly with brands, because we've had a lot of larger brands reach out to us directly. We're talking like top 5 companies in the world type companies saying they don't really want to work with the larger agencies anymore because they're just not getting their money's worth on it anymore. Because it's like you used to spend millions of dollars to get somebody to make something that looks really nice or whatever, but now it's more about like, you can tell on socials how much return they're actually getting. And so who cares if I'm a business and I spend $500,000 on this thing and it gets 1,000 views on the company Instagram feed versus paying us like a tenth of that price or less to like get hundreds of thousands of views instead. It's a night and day difference. And so you don't need these huge agencies with like hundreds of employees anymore to get this work done. And it's not even an AI related thing. It's just like designers are getting more efficient as a whole. And so there's definitely like a good opportunity for smaller studios and freelancers, because a lot of these larger agencies scared companies away from motion design, period, because people just thought motion design was too expensive because they saw how much these larger agencies were charging. And so what we're really trying to do now is not like just offer the lowest price possible, but we're trying to really make sure that it's economical and that we're actually like charging for the amount of value in return they're going to get, rather than just like charging a bunch of money because we feel like we should charge a bunch of money because Christo said so or whoever, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't really matter now, and companies don't see it the same way anymore. But that is something important to mention, that like freelancers especially are struggling right now, and I understand that. I mean, we don't work with freelancers really. We have our team of 5, and it's expensive for us to bring a freelancer on for a project and then have to like train them up on how our team works and stuff. And I think a big part of the issue for the freelance market right now is that it's a huge group of all of these freelancers that are in motion design right now that are all messaging the same studios and companies. You know what I mean? Like it's better, I think, at this point, because you can make a good relationship direct to brand, for freelancers to not rely on studios and agencies as much, because you got to understand there's already 100 people reaching out to me every week asking if we have jobs for them or something. You know what I mean? So imagine how much Buck is getting, or any of those companies. There's room now to be able to work more directly with smaller businesses and different startups and really make an impact there. And we're doing the same thing as a small studio. We're working with even pre-funding startups now, because as soon as they get the investment, if any part of that is because of the content we created for them, they're going to want to work with us for everything, you know, like we'll already have that trust, rather than just being like part of the machine and working with the studio. So wanted to make sure that was said as well.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, please go ahead.
You also bring up a little good point of like how people are buying used to be based on a lot of different things, but now a lot of people are buying because of social media. A lot of people do their product market research, like what do they want to buy, through social media. So that is becoming more and more valuable. And you know, you could make a nice billboard campaign and stuff, but you have access to so many people and so many new audiences through social media. So that sort of return on investment through just making good social media content is also like luckily where we are niched down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we're able to provide that specific value to big companies as well. Whereas a lot of motion design companies haven't put any time or effort or investment into actually figuring out how social media works, because they've had these big companies that are dealing with distribution and all that stuff. And so all they have to do is just make cool, pretty campaigns that like speak to the right people. But again, like that is not like how people are buying is shifting. So therefore the creative must also shift.
Yep.
And so we're able to also explore in that area where there's a lot of like opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I just want to put it out there. If anyone else in the attendees want to come forward and ask anything, please feel free to. This is a very casual conversation that we're having. There is no senior, junior level or anything. It's a level playing field for everybody. So if you don't feel like coming on the screen or asking directly, please feel free to type it out in the comment section. I'll ask it for you. And yeah, Rishabh, please come forward and Rishabh.
Hi guys. Hi Austin. Hi Noah.
Hi.
Firstly, thank you so much for taking out your time and like giving your time to us and like giving such a valuable, right? And also, like specifically you, Austin, like the initial time when you started your looping series, right? I was like that time it just boomed out so like quickly. It came in my feed, and I love the every like the deep flow that you added and the gradient that you played with. And I also like got inspired by your like direction and stuff. So I've also like taken that inspiration from you to add it in my works, and it's coming out pretty good. Like so far, I'm getting the comments from the people I've worked so far.
Oh, sweet. I'm glad to hear
Thank you
that.
so much for like giving such a like a great inspiration to a lot of us, because before you, I haven't seen a lot of the gradient motions playing around in the industry, right? It's like very few people who are working in that space, and specifically like one of them is Amin and Vishal for sure, right? So the OGs were there, and then we saw your that looping series is coming up like booming every time, those match cuts. So it's been a very great learning from seeing your work, and specifically the live sections that you did on YouTube. They are still there, and for everyone like people who have been interacted with me, I've told them that your live sessions are the gem for anyone to learn.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I wanted to, yeah, you saying something?
Oh no, go ahead.
I just wanted to understand more about the process that you follow while like starting from the scripting part to the final delivery, the storyboarding, generations, and style framing, animating the things, and how do you tackle the revision and stuff with the client in case they change something? So
Sure. Okay, I gotcha. What we typically do, so if it's like a loop, I usually just start with the music and I'll just listen to it over and over and over again until I come up with like how many scenes I want. Like I can sort of hear like it'd be good to transition at this spot and this spot in the audio, and so I'll like kind of mark those out. After that point, when I know how many scenes I've got, I'll then just start filling out like what I see in my head for each spot. I'll just listen to it over and over and over again and just write out the idea. Because I'm horrible with pen and paper. I can't really sketch or draw or do any of those kinds of like fine art things. So I'll just need to like give myself a recipe to follow in Illustrator. And then at that point, once I've got it designed in Illustrator, it's pretty easy for me to just drop it into After Effects right away and start animating. Like I'm not really making many decisions when I'm in After Effects because I'm just kind of already like, I know what I want at that point. For the client stuff, typically how that works is we'll have either a script that we write or a script that the client has given us. And it's the same process at that point. We read each line over and over again, the same thing as the audio, to then write out what we can see for that shot and like what we think the motion should be. So before we even get into Illustrator, we have a very clear written out like motion script is what we call it, of what each shot is going to be. And then the same process happens there. We make it an Illustrator and then move on. Usually now, if it's a smaller project, like a 15 to 30 second video, we don't even really give the client style for or storyboards anymore, because having to like try to explain to them what the motion will look like is a little bit harder for some clients than it is for others. So we'd rather just animate it and just show it to them. But I also recognize that like a lot of clients come to us and they're like, do your style or whatever. So they kind of already know what they want it to look like. If they are coming to us and they don't know that, Noah will typically create a couple style frames to be able to send over to them before we start animating. But we like to kind of avoid the storyboard part in terms of showing it to them at this point, because the amount of feedback that we'll get on individual frames and storyboards, they'll spend like 10 minutes looking at one frame that's going to be like 3 seconds they're going to watch in the video, and it's like not the same situation at all. So like I'm not trying to show them work in a way they won't see it in the final video, you know what I mean, just so that they can scrutinize it. So that's typically how we do that. And then if they have revisions, we've all just gotten really good about like trying to make our animation stuff that we can change pretty quickly. Like we don't do a lot of like frame by frame or those sorts of things, so that if we need a change, we can make it pretty quickly. But also doing the loops and the social media work has just generally made us work very quickly. So if somebody needs us to recreate an entire scene, it's really not a big deal, and usually will take us like 30 minutes for a scene, maybe an hour at most. So we can knock it out pretty easily, even if they need more stuff.
Thanks so
That
much. That's really helpful.
Yeah, that's very interesting because you had mentioned that clients just come to you and say, "Do your thing."
Some clients do that. I'd say it's probably like 30% now, but when the loops were really getting a lot of views on social, they're pretty much all just like, "Can we have that style but for our company?" And we're like, "Okay, sure, whatever, that's fine."
I think that's a power of niching down, or creating your own style. It kind of it becomes iconic. Um, I thought I saw Bhavya raise her hand. Yeah, please come forward.
Yeah. Hi guys. Hi everyone. Hi Austin. Hi Noah. So I want to ask this to Noah. Like I know you do a lot of content creation and stuff, and as motion designers, I feel like it's difficult to just grow with just your work in sometimes unless you have like a lot of work that's like great and captivating. But like if you wanna advise someone on getting started with content creation, how would you recommend, like, because I feel like everything's out there. Like just go on YouTube and learn, dude. Like what is there? What do I talk about? Kind of thing. And also how would you plan out that stuff, and just in general, what is your advice on content creation for motion designers?
Okay, so I'll start broad and then I'll get more specific with the more tutorial content that I do. Broadly, I want to address the belief that everything's already out there, just in general, because that also exists with like funny, like any kind of content you want to make. There's always going to be that like, oh, but someone is already doing it and they're doing it better and like whatever. But like, you wouldn't not play a sport just because there are other people that play the sport better than you. You wouldn't. Like that works with almost anything. It doesn't really matter if people are doing it better than you. And because it is the nature of it is a very personal creative thing, not only are you going to be able to do it and eventually do it better than pretty much most people if you stay dedicated to it, but the key part is that you'll do it differently, and you'll do it differently naturally. Like you will do it differently without even trying. You'll do it like nobody has ever done it before. And that is some of the deep value. I don't really like how like kitschy and like boring it is to be like, be yourself. But truly, when it comes to content creation, your unique perspective and how you'll naturally combine all the knowledge and all the things that you like into your process and into your expression is one of the most, if not the most valuable thing. So when you're starting, just remember that it is because you're doing it that it is going to eventually work. It is because it's you uniquely. Also, getting into content creation is not easy. It seems very easy. We consume a lot of content. We're online all the time. We see it. We're like, oh, that can't possibly be too hard. But it is like pretty scary to put yourself out there in such a way and be like, these are my ideas. This is what I think is valuable. Like that is, I should not downplay that. That is like a scary and kind of spooky thing to do. And it stays scary. Like I really didn't like my voice at first. I was really annoying to edit myself. Like there are just little things that make it hard. That's why not everyone does it, is because it is harder than it seems. But also it gets easier every single time you do it. It's going to feel very awkward at first. It's going to feel weird, especially if you're talking to a camera. It's going to feel very strange. And then you edit it and you're like, oh, why did I say that? Like that's so, I can't show this footage ever. Like it's so embarrassing. But that's like just part of the process. And I guarantee every single content creator, including myself, has gone through that process probably 100 times. Like it is weird at first, but you just have to stick with it. Now, to get into the like how to be successful, obviously the biggest, or maybe not obviously, but to me, obviously the biggest thing is to just start doing it and then post and then think about why it may not have done well. Watch content similar to it and be like, what part of this makes it work? We did this with our loops. We broke it down. We took a bunch of the like variables, like what colors we used, how many scenes they were, what kind of music it had, all of that. And we put it in big spreadsheets. You don't necessarily need to go that crazy with it, but it showed us some very specific things like, this range of time generally does the best. This kind of disco-y music resonates best with people and works with the style in a way that people like it more. Like it shows you stuff. You could take like 50 videos. You could go on for like a couple hours and just look at all the videos that are similar to the content you want to make, and you write down all of the scripts. And then you could like put that all into ChatGPT and be like, what is similar? Like, what are they talking about that's similar? How are the hooks similar? Like, who are they talking to? Are they saying you a lot, or are they saying I a lot? Like, what things are consistent across all this stuff that makes it work? And then you could just take the very essence of the things that work, make sure that you include those in your content, and make whatever you want. Usually there are some like best practices that you'll just learn by doing. Like, you don't want a whole bunch of pausing space. People have not a lot of attention span on social media. So if you're doing social media, like, keep it interesting and get to the point and use curiosity. Like, those are your biggest tools. So it's just a lot of like iteration and being honest with yourself when something doesn't work, and being like, okay, next time I'm going to be thinking about the hook more, and I'm going to bring more energy to the beginning of the video, or I'm going to rethink what I'm teaching, or I'm going to rethink how I'm teaching it. And like, my scripting process is like, what do I think based on all the stuff I've made? What do I think is new, or what do I think is like something I haven't taught before that people are going to get a lot of value out of it? That's another big thing, is like, I focus on what value the person watching is going to get out of it, because you're not making it for an algorithm, you're making it for a person on the other side of the screen. And you can very much be like, well, if I was watching a video, what would I want it to be like? And that's a very good way to make good content, is to really focus on like what you would really love. Some of my best work has just been because I really wanted to do that thing. And so like, my biggest reel was about making perfect color palettes. I really love color palettes. Making color palettes is a very common thing that so many people across many disciplines are like struggling with. And I was like, well, I could like simplify it and I could make it funny. So I'm going to do that. And I have my little formula of like, let me come up with an interesting hook that people will feel like, yes, okay, I know what this video is about really quick, and then get right into it and show it to them in like an interesting and clear way that's engaging all the way through, and then end it before they have time to leave. And I made that, and it got like 1 million views. So, I mean, really, if I were to summarize, just start, think about the person on the other side of the screen and what they really care about, how to be relatable and helpful and valuable to them. And again, just start. It's going to be weird, but just start.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's a wonderful way of taking about tackling social media. Thanks for asking, Mavya. And I think Raz, I see your name first on my list, and then Aniket can come forward. Yeah, Raz, come forward.
Yeah. Hi guys, Raz here. First of all, like, super big fan of both of you's work. And
Thank
so
you.
I wanted to ask a specific question where I don't know how to ask this without sounding very off, but basically, you guys, I don't know if you guys get this a lot, but you guys have a very strong animation style. I just feel that, and of course, like, fast action cuts and like beautiful music and cutting on the fastest moment, and and I was like really inspired by that and I'm still inspired by that that style. But and I used to create a very small practice loops based on that. And then after a while, I just looked back at my work and I felt that I realized I just kept solving everything the same way, that I was unintentionally just limiting myself with just that. And then I just felt I'm just a little bored by that now. Like, do you guys ever like felt that, or I don't know if I'm just thinking very wrong way, or is having a style like very important?
It depends on what you want. I think it's been both a benefit to us and the opposite of a benefit, a problem for us. It helped us get a lot of clients quickly because we were able to like consistently show up on social media with the same style. It wasn't necessarily that we wanted to do that style forever, but in order to like keep posting, we needed to find something where we didn't need to change the variables every time. There's a lot of designers where like they change the style of the post every single post, and that makes it hard to post every week. You know what I mean? Because you have to refigure it out every time. And so it certainly helped us just like show up more. But we did have a lot of clients that like we reached out to or had a conversation with that hadn't worked with us yet. And a lot of the reason was because they were like, oh, well, we had this other project. We just didn't know if you'd be a good fit because we see your style as X, Y, and Z. And so something we're trying to be better about is just making sure that maybe it's not on my account that we're showing a bunch of different styles because my audience wants to watch a certain thing. But at least on like the Revi website, we've got examples of other projects that are in collage or whatever other styles that we need to be working with, right? And so it just depends on the channel that you want to put it on. My account is for a very specific reason at this point. It's our largest following, and we just need it in order to get people coming in to want to work with us. But Reddit gets upset if they see the same style every single time. You know what I mean? So we'll post some different stuff on there sometimes, or like try to make some tweaks and things.
There's a good chance I'm one of the people who get upset on Reddit.
But then we'll also have just know that like there are also a lot of people that probably watch your stuff that won't ever say anything about it. Like we just had a call with Walmart the other day, and they've been following our work for like 3 years. Never said anything, but they've been like huge fans for a long time, regardless of what we've done. So if you want to just be able to like keep showing up consistently, I think finding a style that works easily for you is a great way to do that. If you want to position yourself as somebody who can do a bunch of different styles for companies or whatever, then like just find a way to also show that. Just know that it might not be super easy to like continually do for social purposes and outreach all the time, I guess.
I'll also say that like a good style kind of comes a little bit naturally, because what it should be is like a combination of all the stuff that you really like, for example, and a combination of what you really like and what you can do pretty effectively. For example, Austin and I aren't really illustrators. We like geometry, we like shapes and colors and gradients, and so our style really reflects that because it's what we can do and it's what we really enjoy. Like my personal style is a bunch of like similar shapes. It's like sharp stuff and chromy stuff and interesting like cursive fonts and things. And it's not because I saw that style anywhere. I saw like bits of that style and got inspired and was like, I really like that. And I slowly incorporated it into that into my design language. But really it's just a combination of all the stuff I like and can do. So ideally, your style should be effective for you and also just like fun. Eventually, you're going to want to mix it up. That's why styles evolve. We'll just like kind of keep adding things that you like until it's more fun and fresh, and it'll just be yours.
And as far as getting bored by it, I've sort of done like an artist surgery in my brain a little bit, where like I have my artist side and my studio motion design business side, you know what I mean? And so I'm not, when we're making loops, it's not in my head that like, am I feeling incredibly fulfilled as an artist right now? It's like, ooh, I need to make sure I'm optimizing this post so that hopefully we can get like this performance and get these leads in. And then there's other times where I'm just like fucking around in Blender by myself, and I'm like, oh, this is a pretty fun thing that I'm doing, and I'm more in my artist brain. So I make sure to kind of label those activities as what they are, so that I'm not constantly just like, I need to make something completely different if like the purpose of what I'm doing is just trying to make another post to get a lead or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. It helps to sort of like have those two different sides for me anyway.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, you had mentioned Blender. I'm curious, how do you find the time to balance both After Effects and Blender?
I've barely used Blender, so it's just like making some exploratory time for myself. I usually get up pretty early, and the team doesn't really show up until like 10 a.m. Eastern time each day, and I'm usually up by like 8 or 7. So I make sure that I've got some time before the team gets on to just kind of do my own thing, and then have my workday start then.
Awesome. Yeah, and come forward. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Hi, Noah. Hi, Austin. Can you hear me?
Hey, good to see you. Yeah.
So I just want to say, Austin, like I think 2 years ago, I started watching your reels and videos on YouTube specifically. Okay. So when I started watching your videos, my mind was going crazy. Like, how are you guys are doing this kind of stuff? Because it is so difficult. Because I thought that this kind of work actually takes around like 2 to 3 months, and you are just sitting 8 and 9 hours on that specific stream and just using deep glow and just using awesome colors and just blending some designs and animation, and it changed something in me specifically. Okay. And I thought like these guys are doing at this specific age, so I thought like why I cannot do this kind of stuff. So it's really sparked me, and I was completely like told myself I can also create that kind of stuff. And I like spent 1 or 2, 3, 4 months, 1 year creating some kind of stuff which will people make to say, wow, this is a good kind of work. So I just want to say thanks a lot. Like you created those kind of specific reels, those kind of specific video, which really sparked the entire community of motion design, and I think overall world. Yeah, that is a really big thing, because you started something like, and it really resonated with the other artists in the community. Because I was also feeling that when I was working with startups and product based companies specifically, like the work was really generic. We are just like using some random motion and stuff. But when I found out your channel, your work, and then I thought like, yeah, this is some awesome stuff. This is the actual source we should do. So I just want to say like thanks a lot.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. That's super great. It's, oftentimes we're just kind of sitting in our own space, and it's really helpful. And I know helps Noah and I feel at times when we're like, oh, we've done so many loops and things, like, are we going to keep doing this, whatever? And then hearing like you say that really makes me feel like I need to do another stream. Like, what have I been doing? Where have I been?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that was the thing also. Like, I just have a small question to you, Justin. Right now, the space is really developing, and we are seeing all this kind of gurus on YouTube and all of the stuff which is happening right now. Basically, right now, what is happening is that like bigger companies, or like what say agencies or like companies, they are actually talking about ROI. I understand that they also want a good ROI with their particular video, and we also want to do great things for them. So how do you tackle this kind of class, particularly who are driven towards ROI? Like, what will it will help? Okay, it looks great, it looks good on screen, it will catch some eyes also. What about the outcome of this? So I feel that is a really big question for artist community specifically. Yeah, how to handle that? Yeah.
So it obviously depends on the client. There are some people, I mean, the reason a lot of big agencies are still even around is that there are some people who are totally fine just paying millions of dollars to just make a pretty thing, and there are some of those, they will probably retire in a couple years or something, but like some of them are still there. But on the other side, there's some people that, like, okay, say a startup comes to us, right? We just had somebody come to us recently. They're trying to raise their first round of funding, but they're feeling like they won't get it because their brand doesn't really look legitimate. Like they don't have design that makes it look like there's somebody worth investing in yet. So just out of our own goodwill, we just created a 15-second thing for them for free. And that got them like to the investment round, you know what I mean? And so it's not necessarily like oh, this video got them X number of users or whatever, but it gave them that ROI in a different way. Like it gave them credibility and stability in their branding. And like that was something that we could then get like a testimonial from them on that being the case. And that makes us look good. There's other people who will come to us and they're going to be launching the product. They want waitlist signups or something. And so we can do our best in script writing, as well as just like how we design the like CTA in order to try and make sure that we get as many of those waitlist signups for them as possible. It really depends on each client, but I guess overarching answer would just be developing some other skills outside of the like visuals part to be able to write copy and messaging so that you can direct the narrative, and also social media to be able to like actually show them like, hey, this video did better than this video because it got more views, but it also got more shares, which shows like stronger engagement, etc. Those sorts of things. It's often hard in our industry to be able to show like this launch video made X amount of dollars, you know? And so trying to find other areas that you can attach numbers to it are really where you can help showcase your ROI for them.
Yeah, I completely understand that thing. I think we need to add some more skills to ourselves, like learning script writing and other stuff, overall branding thing. So yeah,
it makes you a more, of course, it makes you a more valuable asset to that company. They'll want to work with you more because they don't have to hire and manage 5 people. They can manage you. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. That's the thing.
I would just like to add. So I've been observing like you guys, the way you guys work is completely different from how a normal studio will work, because it's I like that you make it a point to make sure that the company that you're working with is you don't just give them a product or a service, you make sure you uplift them in a way. And I feel like that's very refreshing, and that's something new that I've heard come from a team of freelancers and studio owners.
Actually, a lot, like part of that is from our branding backgrounds. Like when you first start a branding project, you very much ask them about how they want to be perceived and like what they want to get out of it on that more like emotional level and all that stuff. So it makes sense, especially now with like social media and different ways that people are buying stuff, to also be like, what do you really like? What's the ideal situation here? Is this like an easy thing, or do you really you want people to care? And then that way you can focus the client and yourself on like one objective, and then everything that you do should be towards that objective, and it like also makes the process way easier. So I just want to say that too.
We also make sure our clients actually have a good time. We don't just give them something nice, but like our clients consistently tell us that the meetings that they have with us are both the most fun and funniest calls they have out of their entire day, and they look forward to them every time. We hang out with them like friends. We give them nice things for free in between projects and stuff. Like we really treat them well and with respect, and that gets us consistent relationships in a way that just like, pay me money and I give you video and that's it. Like that's never going to get that same kind of relationship, So you just got to remember they're also people.
Yes,
I mean, you guys are not afraid to wear different hats. So that's kind of a very strong role you're playing. So I just wanted to okay, next is Akash. I think you can come forward and ask. Akash. Hi. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, hi, I'm Akash. F9, thank you so much for hosting this community and giving the opportunity to connect with Austin and Noah. I've been following Ravi's work for like quite some time, and I love the series where you guys create animations on random sound effects. I literally can't believe like Noah and Austin, you guys like make something up within 30 minutes. Like, mostly like it's crazy how your entire pipeline works so that you can execute something so fast. I'd appreciate if you could help me out with some questions I have here. This is something specific for Austin, but Noah, if you have any inputs, I'll appreciate that as well.
Sure.
Thank you. So as someone who handles business development, what strategies have you found to be the most effective in converting creative work into sustainable business growth?
That's a good question. And I'll be honest.
Formal.
No. That's a good question. That's great. I'll be honest that we're still trying to figure that out in some ways. We're not making like a ton of money necessarily, but with any service-based business, the problem is that like cash flow consistency.
Right.
What we've done has been transitioning this year, especially from rather than just trying to get a project with a company and we might do like 2 videos with them a year. We're really trying to position ourselves as their social media partners as well, so that we can then look at like a consistent amount of money from them per month. Even if it's not like a whole year that they're signing on for that, 3 months of consistent revenue from somebody rather than just one payment helps us look at it as like, all right, this is our payroll that we've got monthly for the team. If we can get this monthly, that'll be 50% of our expenses covered for the next 6 months. And so all we got to do is then find projects to add on top of that. So really what we're trying to do is create those more consistent relationships with different clients. And the way that we've been doing that is positioning ourselves not just as motion design partners, but as now our tagline for Ravi is we create cult followings for brands.
Yeah.
Like whatever we're going to do, whether it's graphic design or motion design or live action video or whatever, to make that happen, that's the promise that we're making to these clients, and it's making them want to work with us more.
And that's again focused on a little bit more of the outcome and what they get out of it. And it's positioning us in a way that shows them that we have expertise beyond pure execution. We're not just making, we're also thinking about what we should make and how we should make it and why we should make it and coming up with new things to make. We're focused on their goals so that they don't have to worry so much about their goals and what direction the marketing's heading, because we can do that.
Right.
That brings up a valid point. Like it ultimately boils down to how much value that you can provide the client, because I feel like a lot of freelancers and studios just focus on giving a video or a project done, and then that's it, end of the relationship. But I think like that extra step that you guys are going like really sits well with every client. So they're you're their favorite studio to work with.
I agree. And that's a big part of like why the big companies were able, like the big motion design companies were able to stay big for so long, is because they really took care of their clients and really cared about the relationship that they have with them. And that's like such a beautiful secret sauce. And it took us honestly too long to learn that. So just remember, like really care about your clients. And honestly, like we put the clients over the craft.
Yeah.
Care about their experience and their return more than we care about
making motion design for other motion designers. Like there's a lot of people in our industry who just like try to make pretty stuff for other people making pretty stuff. It's like, I don't care anymore. I care what my client thinks and what's going to make them successful, not like what's going to get me on Buck You Back or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Service-based industry. So let's provide a real service.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Akash. Rishabh, you can come forward. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sure. Rishabh.
Hello. Hello, hi Austin. Hi Noah. I've been following you guys since a long time. I saw like a post on Reddit which was like you guys made a chair animation in an hour and a half, and I was completely blown away. Then I saw how Ravi happened and like how you guys reached $500K and all of that. It was really great seeing you guys. So I had a question like, how do you see what's the future is going to come? Like, what do you focus on? For example, there's like few things that are going on that I want to focus on, but I can't decide which one to explore. One is like Rive is really booming. It is coming up with really creative solutions to interactive motion design. And there's another, AI is booming there. And every day there's a new software coming up. And then I see how like Cinema 4D and 3D, like they're completely changing the way we see 2D and 3D separately. It's like blending both of them together. So how do you choose which thing to upskill in, and like where do I find that balance?
It's kind of a cop-out answer, but like we just kind of bring people on the team at this point if we are like seeing new softwares and stuff. Because like truthfully, Noah and I, with what we have to spend our time doing, like we could spend the rest of our time trying to learn a new tool, but there's going to be someone who can devote all their time to it and be better than me. You know what I mean? So I'd rather just hire them.
Both of us.
Yeah, like it's just not gonna happen. However, I would encourage you to probably think through like, well, okay, I'll give you like a more broad answer and then something about each tool, I guess. I like to think of it more of what I want to create, and then whatever tools I need to use and learn, I can use to do that. It's probably going to be a combination of multiple tools rather than like just trying to learn Rive can be kind of a daunting thing because it's like, where do you start? I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing. But if I say I want to make easy ease, then I can come up. I have to use Rive for part of that. I have to learn this like software to create the service. I have to use After Effects for X, Y, and Z, and it like helps me learn these things in a more tangible way rather than just like learning Rive to learn Rive. You know what I mean? But if you want to like specifically upskill in certain areas, just to make it more manageable, I'd probably block out a certain amount of time per week where that's your exploratory time. And it's like, this week's exploratory time I'm spending on Rive, and next week I'm spending on this tool, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I really agree with like starting from what you actually want to make. I think that's a fantastic point. I was going to say like do what you actually care about, because passion will bring you to be one of the best at that thing. Whereas just the feeling of like you should learn it will not get you there. But if you really love it, like that will get you there. So do the thing that you really love, and then a step further, do the thing that you really love, like aimed at what you really love to make.
That's a very good advice.
Makes sense. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, of course.
We don't thank you, Rishabh. Also, like we don't want to take your time too much. So also we're a bit we've just crossed the hour mark. So we'll just take a few more questions. So Prashant, please come forward.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, like, there are so many design styles coming every year. So how do you guys like manage to staying with your own style without getting distracted with other styles?
It's been a little while since we got like distracted a lot. There are still certain things that come out, you're like, wow, that's like really amazing. But at this point, we just like make what we really like and what we've continuously made before. So it gets less distracting the more you see. You know what I mean? It's like the more candy you've eaten, the less exciting new candy is in a way.
Well, and a lot of our clients have their own brand and particular style. So like we're not trying to just like make a new style to make a new style for an already established brand. So a lot of our like different style exploration is just within the different client projects we have. There's already certain things that they want, you know?
Yeah. So like when client comes to you and they give you open hand in the creative direction and everything. So how do you manage to keep it all together, like for the target audiences and for the project message? So how do you guys keep both together in the name?
Let me think about that for a second.
Like the visual style and the like objectives of the project.
Yeah. So when you have creative freedom.
Well, I think because of how our process works and we start with the concept and like our motion scripting and stuff before we get to visuals at all, we kind of already decided like generally what we want the feel of the project to be, and that naturally dictates like what style we'll use or create for the project. You know, we're not really starting from the visual standpoint and trying to figure out like what style makes sense for this project, because that should be dependent more on like the script and those sorts of things, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, we focus on the concept and the target audience and like the actual targets of the project, and then it will just kind of click. And then our style for that project will be a mix of what we can do and what makes sense. So it'll be in that Venn diagram of like, oh, well, this like would make sense for it to do more of a collage style, and then we're gonna bring our, of course, natural design tendencies and motion into that design style, and it'll be what it is.
Right.
Yeah, understood.
I think that there is a balance that you guys constantly maintain.
Yeah.
We try. I think we ultimately have a lot of like similar compositional tendencies, regardless of whatever style we're using. So we have our sensibilities and like our tools that help us make things quickly, and those won't go away.
So I'll just ask Hardik to come forward as well, because Raz and Rishabh, you guys can just wait for a minute. Yeah.
Are you muted?
I think you're muted.
I think your mic has been muted. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love both of your guys' work. I actually browse it and I just see Austin's work pop up once in a while, and I'm just like, this is that guy. So I have a question. I have a small question for both of you. You guys have a specific style in which you like post every day or every week, but how do you create something that is so similar but so different? Like every one of your work is like won't be, it's a particular style, but everything else in it is different from the previous work. So how did you come up with that?
It's just we don't want to post something, even if the style feels similar. We don't want to post something where we're just doing the same movement, So as much as we don't necessarily change the style a whole lot, where we do express ourselves artistically is in like a cool new transition or like a new technique that like somebody on the team has come up with for animating something a certain way, and that happens every single time, just as we're exploring, because of the process where we're listening to like the music first or the script or whatever. Naturally, like we have ideas that are going to be different depending on like how the music sounds or what the VO line is saying. If we were just making something where it's just the animation and there's nothing else backing it, like the audio or anything, then it would probably be harder for us to like come up with something new every single time as far as animation goes. But we're kind of giving ourselves different prompts every week by using the audio, and that helps us think differently.
Literally any variables that we changes the outcome, and that includes music, and that also includes like we shifted from doing like a simple ball and shapes to doing more like illustrative stuff, and then eventually to like we would write like a little story. Even if that's not super apparent in the animation, we still have a little story, and that story just makes it different than all the other things we've done because we've never done that story before.
That makes sense. I think please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying like thanks for the advice.
Of course.
Awesome. Thank you for asking, Hardik. And Raz, come forward.
Yeah, so I just had a follow-up question of what you guys were talking earlier. So I think initially in the call you had mentioned that you guys are like 7 of you right now in the studio, or like 2 are coming and 5 of
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So like as a studio owner, like were you ever like scared to hire like more people when like let's say like you have a great like cash flow right now, but like after 6 months and like something is hitting every day to you, like AI is coming and economy, tech companies are dying, all those stuff. It's very uncertain time as well. So like are you ever scared that and there is this point of ethical dilemma as well, that after 6 months, if you don't have enough projects, like you don't want to end up firing those people,
right?
So like how do you like what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it should have been scarier, is what I'd say now. I think when we first started bringing people on, we were a little scared, but it was more because of like, oh, we don't know if we know how to manage people, when it should have been what you're talking about. And we know that now. We haven't ever had that, thankfully, let anybody go for financial reasons. But we have a system in place now that helps make the decision easier on hiring people. So the way we think about the financials is there's 2 sides. There's like safe mode, which is when money is good, and then there's slow mode. And so everybody already knows on the team that like if the bank account, because everybody on the team knows how much money is in there and how much everybody's making, that also makes this process easier. That's a kind of tough thing as an owner as well, but like everybody makes pretty similar money on the team, including Noah and I. Anyway, because everybody knows how much money is in the bank account, they know that if it goes below this certain amount of money, everybody is capped at 25 hours a week. And like Noah and I only make X amount of dollars per week, and it'll be lower than what everybody would normally get, right? And they just know that that's the case if money's below a certain amount. That lets us essentially have like our slow mode starts with 3 months of slow mode runway. And if we can't fix the problem within 3 months, then like something's really bad anyway. You know what I mean? But usually we can turn things around within that amount of time pretty easily. Safe mode, anything above that amount of money, we just pay as usual and like people have their hours and that sort of thing. But that system makes it so we've kind of got this like 3 month buffer period to, instead of just having to let a bunch of people go, we have those 3 months to figure it out. And everybody on the team is like actively trying to help fix the problems because we all feel like we're in it together rather than just like Noah and I paying everybody less and nobody knows what's going to happen or whatever. Like we all figure it out. I think it actually helps make the team stronger and helps us come up with better solutions than just letting people go. We did, however, like last year, we had 8 people at one point and we did downsize, but that wasn't because of money. It was just like a couple of people left because they had other interests. And then we wanted to give raises and there was somebody on the team who just wasn't doing super well. And so we couldn't give them a raise. And so we ended up just letting that person go because it wasn't the right fit anymore. But just having that system where we're like, okay, we cannot go below this amount of money in the account. Like we have to stop all pay in projects if we go below this amount of money. Slow mode is here and safe mode is here. That has made things way easier for me because now every project that comes in, I can sit there and be like, we don't have to worry about slow mode for like another year right now. You know what I mean? And so it keeps in mind like how much runway we have and lets us make hiring decisions based on like, oh, okay, that still lets us have 6 months worth of runway if we bring on somebody right now or whatever. So that's how we handle that.
I'll also just throw in real quick that once you do it for a while and you go through multiple years of like the slow parts of the year and the fast parts of the year, eventually you kind of get the feeling of like, well, we're never gonna not have any projects at this point. We've gotten better at our jobs and better at relationships. There is going to be a consistency and just that understanding that you have pulled yourself out of like bad situations in the past and you trust the team and you trust yourself and your co-founder. It makes it a lot less scary. You're like, well, we're gonna hire and we're gonna figure it out if it goes. But like it'll all in the past and we can continue to do so.
I think that is a very good business advice that you guys, both of you guys gave, to have the 3 month buffer period.
Yeah.
A lot of companies, multinational companies need to take note.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, Rishabh, come forward, Rishabh. Sorry.
So actually, I have 2 questions from both of you, Austin and Noah. Right. So, first thing first, that the thing that you guys mentioned that you guys take care of your clients. That's very great statement. So I would like to know, how do you take care of your clients? So you already mentioned, Austin, that you give them some freebies or you do some extra work. But how exactly do you make it consider the process of taking care of your client? And how do you elevate the experience when they are working with you? Maybe through process, maybe some, I don't know. I just want to understand how you take care of your clients.
Sure. During the projects, typically we will just do more than what is being asked. Like, for example, we have a project right now where they're wanting us to make 8 different videos. They're like 90 seconds a piece, and they'll be like 40% animation. The rest will be footage. Okay. And so their shoot for getting that footage is coming up like this weekend or something. And we could have just taken one of these scripts and made 40% of it animated and given it to them to get their feedback. But instead we're animating the entire thing so that they can, not have to worry about not having animation in spots where they might end up wanting it, or like, we don't know where we want to put the footage yet. So like, we don't know which scenes we want animated and not. And so we just did it anyway without asking them. And then they'll see that like, oh, you guys really put in the effort and time and whatever. And because we don't charge them based on days or hours or whatever, they don't have to worry about like that costing a bunch of extra money. We just charge for the project and that's it. So they're not going to get any extra charges. There's other times where we will give them some leeway if they need to extend the project or something. We often won't charge them for that unless it's like a certain amount of like extra time over. We're pretty lenient with them on those sorts of things. Let's see, outside of a project, typically what we'll do is like a freebie could be making them a 15-second ad they can put up on social and just see how well it performs, because that will probably end up leading to us getting more projects like that from them that they will pay for in the future if it does well. That's one way we do that. We've done things where we like, the DVD logo that like bounces around the screen, right? We've made that on loop for a couple clients and stuff. They love things like that they can put as their wallpaper. Other things that we do, we try to do like commemorative project gifts. If it's a big project. Noah and I found online these JBL speakers. They have like mesh on the front and you can print stuff onto those speakers. And so we took frames from the project and like gave each person on that project a custom speaker that they now have on their desk. So every time they look at their desk, they like think of us and whatever, those sorts of things. So lots of stuff like that.
I'll also just pop in and say, we have consistent calls with them, and I make sure that they feel heard on those calls, and like they're just like treat them like a friend,
Yeah.
So like now since you mentioned like you have the frequent calls, right? So also you guys mentioned you guys do a fun call, like it's like laughing and giggling. So how do you do that? Because whenever I get on a call with a client, there are very few moments when they actually crack a joke in between, like some humor is there and then we react. But it's not the other way around. So how do you like make it a fun laughing call?
We initiate it. Like sometimes the first things we say on the call are oftentimes Noah will point out something in their background he likes, like their plants or their dog or whatever, because that gets them talking about like their personal life and the stuff they like, whatever. So that makes them kind of open up a little bit more. It feels less clinical. And then we'll also just make jokes sometimes. Sometimes they land, sometimes they don't. But like more often than not, it makes them know that like we're not stuffy and like we're fine, we're cool, we're chill here. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a hard thing to dissect because we just act like they're our friends. Like that's just how we see them. And so we just act how we would. There's other times where like, I think it's not super informal, but we just make sure that they feel super taken care of. Like I am very much the kind of person who on a call with a client will be like nodding and saying, and things as they're talking and whatever. So they know I'm paying attention. And I'll have like some insight for them on like, I try to find a problem they're having or something and give them a little solution for it or whatever. And trying to make them feel like they're taken care of will make them feel like they're more able to open up to you and be more friendly rather than if they feel like they're having to manage you and tell you what to do. We want it to feel like they never have to tell us what to do. We're just there to like update them on what's going on, and that's generally it.
Especially if you repeat back to them like a little summary of what they said, and you can be like, okay, so I'm hearing that you think blah 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 and you want blah blah blah, and they're like, yeah, that
is what I want, thank you for that.
And immediately they just feel like you're on the same page. That's really good.
So much of like interesting insights. I'm surely gonna apply this in my process from now. And I just have like one more question. Since like Noah also mentioned about content creation, and Austin, you already do it on your channel, while both of you guys make loops and stuff. So how do you maintain the audio copyright thing to be like a safer zone for you guys? Because I remember in one of your YouTube live, I asked you on your comment that regarding your audio process, you said that you can't exactly show it because that will bring up the copyright first thing. Because you have to play the audio, right? So, and still like you guys have been using multiple songs I've seen on your loops with some like you're basically making explainer video out of a audio or a music, right? These days, like a bunch of sections. So how do you not get a copyright and yet to publish it on every channel, YouTube, Instagram and stuff? So curious to know on that.
So Instagram and like any short form video platform usually has licensing with the big like record labels anyway. And so you can just go into when somebody films a TikTok on their phone or whatever, they can pick a popular song and put it on their video, like that's totally fine. Because Instagram and whoever has the rights to use that on the platform. So we can use that to our advantage by being able to like play it there as well. However, the reason I can't show it like on the YouTube stream is because the YouTube copyright stuff will take it down if it's not on YouTube Shorts, if it's on the long form YouTube, or it'll like restrict it so only certain countries with rights can watch it or something like that. So we never really have to worry about like getting trouble with it or anything, as long as we aren't like using a really obviously copyrighted song for our reel where we're advertising Revi or for any client stuff. So we use Artlist for most of those things, so that it's non-copyright. But just for like, basically what we're doing on Instagram is just making art. Any artist can go on there and make art, and that's also part of the reason we do it on like my account. It's Austin Bowens, it's not Revi, you know what I mean? So that might be a little different.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, you were saying no something. No, you were saying.
I was just gonna say, we don't have time for any more questions, but if anyone has any, we're always on social media, and
I think we've taken too much of their time already.
We gotta go.
Yeah, we totally understand. Thank you very much for coming forward and answering all our questions and talking with us and interacting with us. So we just want to thank you, and feel free to all the audience members, feel free to join F9 whenever you want, including like this is an open invitation even for Austin and Noah. Like if you no pressure.
Yeah.
Feel free to do that. And thank you very much for joining. And I actually wanted to talk about Easies, but I think it's much better if we you guys have your time. So thank you very much. And we will have this record. We do have this recorded and we will be putting this on YouTube. But if you have anything that you don't want included, please let me know. Okay. I will actually message you on Discord. We actually, funny thing is we actually had a conversation before a month back on Discord itself.
That's so funny. Okay. Yeah. Sweet. That's good.
Okay, thank you very much, and have a great day. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks so much, guys. All right,
bye.
Bye, Austin. Bye.